Councilman, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Why create your own amendments to void out these Dallas Hero amendments? Why not just let the old-fashioned ballot box effort take hold here?
Sure. I don't necessarily think that they were meant to undo anyone's work. I think that more than anything, there was the ability to clarify, and so I would consider them to be clarifying amendments more than anything. But city government is complex, and the average voter, especially the average November election voter, may see things on the surface in a different way than they would if they were to be given extra context. So I believe that the clarifying amendments provide some extra context.
These three charter amendments from Dallas Hero say that the city will hire more police officers, pay more cops more out of the gate here, make the city manager's salary tied to performance-based pay, and then let citizens sue city officials. If that were to pass, if voters said yes in Dallas, what would that do to the city?
Well, first, I think that it'd have a long battle in court if it does pass.
The city would sue over this?
Oh, 100%. As long as I'm in this seat, that's what I'd be pushing for. There's a level of unconstitutionality to wanting to encourage voters to sue the city if, in my opinion, to be very ambiguous language on not adhering to the charter. Just as you mentioned in the first question, I think the democratic way to handle this is hearing from the voters. The voters have put in a governing body, which I'm fortunate enough to sit on, and the large responsibility of the city council is to manage our executive, our city manager. That to me should not be taken into a micromanagement sphere, if you will, on what this suggests. It also should not be something that dilutes voters' voices, because if voters clearly have elected the body to do this work by taking a small sample size in what they've suggested to be the tell-all, you're essentially saying that the at-large votes did not matter.
Are these Dallas Hero amendments an end run around city council, around voters' choices then?
I think these hero amendments are nothing more than political agendas. It's unfortunate, but we've seen here in a very hyper partisan world, if you will, that there have been agitators in large far-right agitators that have been getting involved in every level of government that are also nonpartisan, including school board races. We see more and more of there being agitation. That's all I believe these to be, is an agitation, and I think for many reasons that there is a political agenda behind what it is that they're doing.
What is that agenda?
I think that it's more about a voter turnout. I think what we've seen in the past, especially when there's close marginal races, that the Republican Party down at the state legislature have brought in ballot measures, have brought in constitutional amendments, and if there isn't enough of a reason to ignite who you believe to be your base in that election cycle, I think that that's really what this is an attempt to do.
But this is a presidential election. I mean,
it is.
You're going to have a lot more people voting anyways. You think this is additional fuel to the fire?
Well, we're a democratic city, and so I think that this adds fuel to the fire to bring out a certain electorate. I don't believe that this is necessarily targeting who we already expect to see at the ballot box in November.
The council's counter proposals say the council will have the final say on everything. Is that not, though, a specific repudiation of the Dallas Hero amendments?
Repeat your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the counter proposals, the amendments that the council has proposed to put on the ballot, say the council is going to get the final say on everything. Are those not a specific repudiation of what the Dallas Hero amendments want to do?
No, I wouldn't say that, and I will tell you, to go into the specifics on that particular, we do have open litigation, and I'd prefer not to go too much into detail until we see a ruling from the judge.
And you expect that this week?
I'm hoping that we have a ruling on Friday, actually, yes.
Okay. The Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, says these city actions contradicted precedent. The Attorney General says the city did not clarify that an opposing slate of 3 propositions, which the council created here, would cancel out the Dallas Hero proposals. What's your reaction to the Attorney General weighing into this, getting into this fight?
You know, Our Attorney General doesn't ever cease to amaze me. He will continue to embarrass me as a state leader. When you are using time and resources to really put your nose where it doesn't belong, quite frankly, it says a lot. It just speaks back to what I was mentioning on this hyper-partisan feel that we're in, and that we have leaders that would much more allow themselves to be in a headline or to perpetuate their own political agendas instead of actually doing what they were elected to do. This is nothing more than a bully tactic. Our Attorney General is taking a page from a playbook of the party he represents, and that's to bully people. My mom always taught me to stand up to bullies, and I don't see this as any different. What he has put forward to the public does not change the city's stance. This is indicative of bullying, just like the lawsuit that the Attorney General placed on the city because of some actions that were taken by the State Fair of Texas. Using your bully pulpit and your position of power to bully our nonprofit organizations that have long standing in our state, that do such great in our community, is really unfortunate. In fact, when it's to combat decisions that were being made to help keep our residents safer, instead of fueling a political fire, I think it would have been much greater to stand behind them in the hard decisions that they had to make.
Councilman, do you expect there going to be an organized campaign to support the council amendments?
I don't necessarily expect there to be an organized campaign. These are, I think they're getting a lot of airtime, but we've got a lot of charter amendments that are put on. And so I'm hoping that the voters...
But you want yours to win.
Well, I want the voters to decide what should win. I think that that's what's so beautiful about democratic process. And we're going to hear from the voters. I think that as a legislature, it is important to also be an educator. And so when we have clarifying amendments that were meant to add context and help provide education, I still expect the voters to have the final word. And that's what we're going to see.
Another charter amendment decriminalizes small amounts of marijuana, as has been reported. The police chief here, Eddie Garcia, opposes this. Where do you stand on that proposal?
You know, I still question how genuine that opposition is. Just 2 years ago, I sat in front of the chief, and one of the first general order changes that he made was to decriminalize 2 ounces.
So what's this about then?
Well, this is actually decriminalizing 4 ounces.
Yeah, but what's it about with the chief?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the chief that. And I tried to ask him that on record because I'm a little confused on the fact that we heard a whole presentation on why there's a difference in correlation and causation. And there was some strong testimony from our new chief at the time who had 2 decades of law enforcement experience that said that he did not see a nexus in marijuana use and violent crime specifically. So if we're looking at ways to better allocate resources to focus on things that should be focused on, like violent crime, instead of a substance that in more than 30 states across the country is making people millions of dollars. We also can look at the disproportionate enforcement that has existed with personal possession tickets. When you see any enforcement that has more than 90% brown and black residents of this city, and you see what the makeup is of our population, there's something wrong there. So not only shoring up the justice system, but also we've got a huge responsibility to look at providing more for our law enforcement, and that's also indirectly, not just directly. And this black market that exists for this substance is definitely hurting law enforcement more than helping.
So do you oppose that amendment?
No, I will be voting for it as a voter.
Okay. Last topic here, I'm just curious about. Dallas is looking for a new city manager, as we all know. Do you expect Dallas is going to bring in any outside candidates to apply to interview? Well,
I hope so. But you know, let's bring up one of those amendments. You know, if we're going to have these outrageous laws that are put in place within our charter, you have to look at how that impacts our ability to attract the level of expertise. And so here we are in the middle of a search, and we're trying to attract talent from across the country. And it's important to highlight that these public servants, they're executives, and they could be making far more money in the private sector. So finding that skill set is already hard enough. Adding in variables that will tell them that they will potentially be judged by a random survey of 1,400 residents, and that could determine their career. It is very troubling.
You think it'll impact recruiting for city managers?
I do believe it to impact.
If this passes.
I do. I think as long as we don't know if it's going to pass, it's absolutely going to impact our ability to recruit.
And do you expect that the city is going to bring in outside people? I've heard from a number of folks that the interim city manager is someone who's doing a great job now that a lot of people like. Do you think that she's got a clear track for the job, or someone else might be interviewing for it?
I wouldn't say a clear track. This is the most important job, I believe, in our city's government by far. And interim city manager Kim Tolbert is doing an incredible job. She's someone that I knew would be one to pick up the helm in an interim role. However, she also has an advantage. She gets to show us what she would do instead of telling us what she would do. And so far, I've been impressed with what I've seen.
When do you expect a city manager decision to be made by council?
Well, we're a little behind the original timeline that was laid out, which had us at the end of October narrowing down candidates. At this point, the timeline is to be determined. I would say that
by the
nothing
end
at
of the
City
year, or
Hall works fast.
True.
We would love by the end of the calendar year, but I also think that it's important to make sure that the public knows that there needs to be robust public engagement.
Well, let me ask you this then. Do you expect these Dallas Hero amendments are going to delay the search for a city manager in this city?
I think that we're going to watch closely to see if there seems to be an impact on getting people interested.
So if people don't apply for it because they're afraid they'll be on performance-based pay, then
correct.
Dallas might be in a situation, you think?
And the consulting firm, I believe, is charged with finding that out and making sure that we know what the implications are. And if we need to make sure that no decision is made until after we see what the ballot says on November 5th, and that's what we'll do.
So at the end of the day, this is going to push the decision on when a new city manager is hired in Dallas.
Well, I think that, to be fiscally responsible and prudent for the residents who voted us in, it would make most sense for us to. I don't think that we should make any knee-jerk decisions that will have to be undone, knowing that there are some outstanding decisions to be made from the voters.
Councilman, thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.